So here's what's going to happen here today. There's two cases that I cannot hear, and I'm going to step off. The pro tem is going to hear those cases, and then when those cases are done, I'll come and finish out the calendar. And the first case is Kelly Carlson and Robert Rayboyne. I'm not going to hear that case. I'm not going to be involved in that case. And then Mr. Leona, the Smith and Powell case will be after that. And so I'm going to step off. The pro tem will come down and handle those two cases. And when those two cases are done, I'll come back and do the rest of the calendar.
To Thurston County District Court, I am Pro Tem McDonald. I'm going to be hearing two matters. First, we'll call the Carlson v. Raboin matter. I see that Mr. and sir, am I saying that correctly, Mr. Raboin? And sir, you're currently muted.
Raboin?
Raboin, all right. And is Kelly Carlson present?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, excellent. We'll get started. I see that there's not an attorney on this matter. Ms. Carlson, I'll start with you. I've had a chance to review the record. Would you like the court to know anything?
No, I just want this guy to leave me alone.
All right. Mr. Raboin, I've had a chance to review the record. I have found that there was proper service issued. I've found that the documents entered by Ms. Carlson were proper. Have you had a chance to review those documents?
I read the documents, yes.
Okay. Do you have any, sir, this is your time to tell the court what your side of things I need to know. Is there any reason that things have changed that the court should not reissue this order?
Honestly, no. The reason that what happened is I was going through the Instagram, and because I was with associate with one of her friends whose name was Phyllis, and Kelly's name picked up right next to mine, and I knew I wasn't supposed to contact her because I'd been without her for 2 years, and I had only 2 months left to go, and the serious problem wouldn't have been over. And then, but what happened is normally when I go across the Instagram, I go to each person across the names and I can push them across, and I not touch the follow. But the one up at the top of the Instagram, which was up at the top here, it said my name, and then it showed Kelly, then it showed 2 other people across there. And I went to try to push it across to not see them. But what happened is hers had a plus in there. And what happened is I went to push it across, and the plus automatically did it to a request. And as soon as I noticed that it did the request, then I said, oh, I need to remove that. And so that's what I did, is I took it back off. So she was no longer on the request. It was back to follow. And then the last thing what I wanted to let you know is that I talked to my lawyer when I came up to the harassment the first time about it. And I said, what happens if you see him in the store when you go to the store? He said, or if I go to another friend's house and she goes to the same friend's house, he said, if you ever see her, just get up and move and leave away. And I said, okay, that's what I did. So that's exactly what I did. It was a mistake when I touched hers that did the request. Else I would have never done it if I knew that that plus was the same as a follow.
I understand. All right. Bear with me just a moment as I check one record. All right.
Because I knew I had just 2 more months left, or 2 more months left to have been over. Yeah.
All right. I've had a chance to re-review the old full order. It does appear that there is a no contact provision. Mr. Raboin, I'm not going to take any actions at this time due to the contact. However, I am going to find that there is good cause to reissue the order based both on the contact and on the existing and the presumption. I don't believe there's been any significant change to the scenario that would warrant denying the request to renew, and thus the court will issue. Mr. Raboin, do you have any questions about the order itself?
I didn't fully understand. I mean, it will be another harassment. For how long?
2 years, sir.
2 more years. Okay.
Forever, please don't ever contact me again, Robert.
Ms. Carlson, please stop.
I'm sorry.
All right. You're both free to go. I will have this order written out and issued before the end of the day. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Powell. Mr. Leone is both free to go. Are there any other parties that were present on this matter? I see there's a paralegal. Ms. Smith, Mr. Leone, do you expect the paralegal to be making
Holly Clark.
Sorry?
Holly Clark, that's my paralegal. And then Robin Herman, I believe, for Ms. Smith.
Excellent. Are we expecting testimony from either?
No, nothing further.
All right. Counsel, I'll start with you. Would you like to make a record?
Your Honor, I'm not planning
Actually,
on
bear with me just a moment. I apologize. Mr. Powell, I'm sorry, I did commit a bit of a faux pas. Can you confirm that you are still present?
I am.
All right. And you are Mickey Joshua Powell?
Correct.
All right. Excellent. Just wanted to make sure we had the right person. I appreciate your patience. All right.
No
Mr. Leone.
Your Honor, the petitioner at this time is resting on the evidence that has been submitted. We really have no plan to reply to any responsive materials. I am ready to proceed to argument. And I would like to reserve on the ability to reply should we hear anything from the respondents that warrants such on the record here. But otherwise, we rest.
Understood. All right. Mr. Powell, good morning. Were you able to hear everything that Mr. Leone just said?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Now is your opportunity for argument. I've had a chance, before you say anything, I want to make sure that we're on the same page. I've had a chance to read through everything you've submitted, as well as everything that Mr. Leone has submitted in this case. I do want to make sure that that you're very aware that the court is not interested in hearing about what took place as part of the other court matter, just about what's happening with this court case and with communications there. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not relitigating.
The only reason I included any of that was to prove that it wasn't slander. I wouldn't have mentioned it. Didn't want to bring the reason that I contacted. I'm sorry,
Mr. Powell. Hold on just a moment. I just wanted to make sure that before I let you go that we were on the same page there. So I want to. Well, I'll turn it over to you. What do you wish the court to know in consideration of whether or not to issue this protection order?
I had no reason to contact her except for her representation of her ex-client. I have zero reason to contact her ever again. I already, in just this 10 days, have been adversely affected by this because her office complex is right next to the Walgreens. Had to have my ex-wife go get my kid's prescription. She didn't get the stopper and the syringe for it, which I can't go get. So I'm now trying to hopefully maybe dose it correctly, even though the doctor specifically said, have the pharmacist show you how to dose it. But I couldn't do that because I couldn't go to the Walgreens. I do not know what this woman looks like. I want nothing to do with her, and making me think about her every single time I leave the house, every single day for 5 years, if someone really is concerned about my mental health, really seems like the wrong move. I would love to just forget this woman and move on with my life. I'm sorry that this person used her as a human shield by not responding to me. The thing I was emailing her about got resolved yesterday, which means he was doing it and just not telling me and leaving her to take the fallout. I got called way worse professionally as a supervisor for like a decade. Nothing that I thought I was doing was getting anywhere near illegal. I was very clear that I was absolutely no physical threat to her. I don't know. If you've got questions, I've got answers. I don't know what things I should or shouldn't be saying here.
All right. Before I ask any questions, Mr. Leone, any response?
Argument if the court wants to hear it. Otherwise, no.
The court would appreciate it.
Okay. So proceeding to argument here. The court's well aware of the operative law under 7105. This comes before the court on theory of unlawful harassment. Skipping the first part of the definition, going to the second part, course of conduct. A pattern of conduct of a series of acts over a period of time, however short, evidencing a continuity of purpose. Of course, the definition continues. And I would like to zero in on subsection V. The course of conduct definition: the respondent's course of conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with the petitioner's privacy, or the purpose of effect of creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive living environment for the petitioner. The respondent's conduct in this case was trying to extort my client out of her representation of her own client in the Office of Administrative Hearings proceeding. The Thurston County Superior Court matters are all closed and have been closed for years. The legislature gave us 7105 exactly for these circumstances. I'm not going to repeat the contents of the emails due to vulgarity. the two emails that have been submitted before the court are more than sufficient to ground an order of protection, and the intimidating, hostile, and offensive living environments really speaks for itself here. The vulgarities, the sexual imagery used was all quite terrible, and my clients really relayed in her declaration how she has had to change her behavior and her life generally because of these communications. Couple this with, hey, I live across the street in one of the emails, it really creates a state of affairs that any reasonable person would suffer substantial emotional distress under. Again, the respondent's filings here bolster my client's case. The emails dating all the way back to 2015 that have been provided by the court and the respondent's materials show everything was above board in communication from my client's office to the respondent. The respondent's identity, as pled in her response in their responsive materials, is irrelevant. The course of conduct speaks for itself. Identity is not.
I missed like half of what you said.
Mr. Leone, if you'd perhaps slow down and if you can inch the mic a little closer to you.
Sure.
Much appreciated.
So the respondent's identity is a red herring and is irrelevant to this proceeding. The definition of course of conduct speaks for itself in this case. It's very applicable. Identity is not carte blanche to incur civil and probably criminal liability, given that the communications here arise to the level of cyber harassment. So my client asked that the court grant the petition for a period of 5 years and include my client's home, office, person, and pets. Obviously, addressing the respondent's concern about the proximity to the pharmacy across the street, I still believe at least a 100-foot restriction from my client's office should allow the respondent to still use bus stops and the pharmacy while staying clear of my client's office, but still my client's person, home, and pets 1,000 feet is most appropriate.
Mr. Powell, any response?
A couple things, yeah. He talks about repeated behaviors and then says that my identity is a red herring. It is absolutely not. It is absolutely clear that Ms. Smith has abundantly misgendered me in order to try to get a rise out of me. She most often does it in court because she wants to fall back on the, oh, it's a red herring of it all. It's not. It is very clear. The only time this woman has gendered me correctly was very shortly after my transition, years ago, so she is well aware. It's been addressed multiple times, and the only reason she did it then was because she was trying to negotiate and trying to get me to agree to something that I thought was laughable. Beyond that, she has absolutely misgendered me every single communication over and over again. So if we're talking about a pattern of repeated behavior, you can only poke the bear so much. Additionally, as far as the restrictions on her place of business, again, I submitted my preferred and the only psychiatric provider who has ever helped me is in that business complex. I have no desire to have anything to do with her. I have not been to that office since the original negotiations from her client way back when. I have never called her office. Listen, man, you read what this is about. It is incredibly difficult for me to address in open court the sexual nature of this without talking about who she's representing and what she represented. So I'm real tied here, but I never said I was going to do anything. There's no love lost here. I do hope that she has a horrible life because she has been a part of making mine and my children's lives miserable. And here we are with her just making it worse. I don't want anything to do with her. And all you're going to do is have my mental health be focused on her. I have dreamed about her every night for 10 days. Other than those emails, I never thought about this woman. I would like for my vitriol to be able to be aimed appropriately because there is an appropriate target here. But instead, I'm going to have to fight this, and I'm going to fight this. So if, this will not be the end if there is an issue ordered, because this is completely unfair. She discriminates against me, and then I use some foul language, and here we are. The fact that she's afraid of me just speaks more to her bigotry. Why, if she says she has such a high tolerance for this sort of behavior as a family law attorney, would 2 emails cause her to change her entire life structure, if not that she thinks I'm some sort of deviant because I'm trans? It's ridiculous.
All right. Here's what's going to happen. The court is going to find, based on the testimony of both parties, based on the exhibits provided by both parties, which do line up with each other, the court is going to issue this protection order for 5 years. The requirement will be moved to 100 feet to make sure that Mr. Powell has access to facilities necessary. Mr. Powell, I would recommend, if you have pharmacy issues, I would recommend moving to another pharmacy. There are several in your area. I don't believe that's going to be a burden.
I have been through several. That one was the one that can actually get my prescriptions. I've already been through Target, Safeway, and Rite Aid. That's why I'm digging my heels in.
Nonetheless, the court will issue the order. It will be good for 5 years. It will include no contact with Ms. Smith, no contact with Ms. Smith's business. Stay away with 100, do not come within 100 feet. Do not surveil her or put her under any sort of watch. Follow all of the expectations of a anti-harassment order. Violation of that will be a criminal issue. It will be, or the paperwork will be available by day's end through the court should you have any questions, Mr. Powell. Are there any other matters to address in this, council?
So I just want to be clear on the contents of the order. 100 feet from my client's office. What about home?
We will. Ms. Smith does not.
I don't know where that is, so I don't know where her home is. So if you want to
Mr.
tell
Powell,
me,
you will
have
not
at it.
knowingly come within 1,000. You will not knowingly come within 1,000 feet of her home. If you do not know where it is, you cannot knowingly get within 1,000 feet of that home.
Nothing further.
All right. Thank you very much. This issue will order. Council, it may take me a couple minutes to get the paperwork file. You know how to grab that. Mr. Powell, this paperwork can be gathered by being in contact with the court. I will find that as you're present here, there is sufficient notice for you to have this. Do not blame, if there are any questions about that, do not blame a lack of knowledge. Thank you all for being here today. This will conclude this matter. Court will be on a brief recess while we get Judge Myers back on for these other matters.
Okay.
Thank you all.
So before we get started, the pro tem may have gone over this. And if he didn't, I'm going to go over this now. You're here because you're either asking for or someone's asking for an anti-harassment order against you. We have a case here we're going to start today. The one case we're going to start with is people are asking for orders against each other. I'm going to need a little bit of explanation for. Just in terms of ground rules, what happens is I'll swear in the petitioner, usually the petitioner first, ask him or her why they need an order, and then I'll allow the respondent to respond. And then there's witnesses. I think Mr. Looney submitted, if I recall correctly, he submitted a written statement, which I've read. And if he wants to add to that, he can. And then, and then I may have some questions for one or both of you, and I'll allow you to respond to what you hear from the other party. But in terms of ground rules, don't talk over the other party. I want all comments directed to me, not the other person. And we'll go from there. So, as I said, in terms of, we have Jill Stewart asking for an order against Wyatt and Patrick Johnson. We have Wyatt Johnson asking for an order against Ms. Stewart. Both were requested on the same day. And now we're here on temporary orders. And so just because both are petitioner, both are a respondent, I'll start with Wyatt Johnson. And so I guess I started with you because I'm most confused by your request. It seems to me if you didn't want any contact with the Stewarts, you wouldn't drive your truck the way that you do. That is on video that I saw. I don't know if you had a chance to see that. That was some videos were submitted. Some witness statements were submitted. So I understand. Excuse me, put your hand down. Yeah, I'll talk when the time comes. I'll talk to you too. He's the petitioner. He's here on his own, so he's old enough to respond to my questions and speak for himself. But I'll give you a chance. So, Mr. Wyatt Johnson, how is it you need an order against Ms. Stewart?
I just would like to be left alone. I have no reason to be involved in their life at all. It's not my prerogative to see them or do anything with them. I don't want to hear anything. I have not tried to cause problems, and this all started the weeks prior to Tuesday, and going and texting my boss and texting people and saying a lot of gross things that people don't want to tell me because they're just not things that I need to hear.
I don't understand that last comment.
I just want to be left alone. I want my family to be left alone. That's
Okay.
why I
I kinda
want
think-
petition.
All right. Well, I kind of think they want the same thing.
I
So I'm going to hear from, hang on just a second, you know, maybe I should have done this first, you know, harassment. There's a definition of harassment, which I'll read to everybody. So unlawful harassment is a series of acts is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses, or is detrimental to such person and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Course of conduct is defined as a series of acts over a period of time, however short, evidencing continuity of purpose. So what series of acts are you alleging that Ms. Stewart has done to harass you?
coming to my driveway, recording me every day, screaming at us or screaming at me. I never once try to interact with them. Until Tuesday happened, I had no idea what the real issue was.
All right. Let me hear from Ms. Stewart, and then go ahead, ma'am. I'll hear from you. You can speak as both a respondent and a petitioner.
Okay, I just have something written here real quick.
And you submitted a written document, which I have read.
did.
Go ahead.
Yes, and I'm not going to go over that. I was just going to have a couple other remarks that go against what Wyatt's petition specifically said, because it was his repeated aggressive actions against me that were intended to annoy and scare me in my own home. Just one text message to his father led to his son aggressively driving past our home at all hours of the day, revving his engine to my and my neighbor's annoyance. It was apparent that the only purpose of his actions that weekend were to harass me and my family. There are a few things that I'd like to clarify after reading Wyatt's petition. For one, my husband was not home the morning of the 6th when the confrontations occurred with both Wyatt and Patrick Johnson. Second, in no way did I have prior knowledge of what my other neighbors were doing the morning of the 6th. I did not ask them to record Wyatt in the driveway, nor go out to flag them down after he stopped directly in front of my home to intimidate me. One of my neighbors, John, I did not know him prior to February 6th. I have his video submitted as evidence. Third, Wyatt stated that I called his father multiple times. I ask your honor that they submit evidence proving the statement. I never once called Patrick, only
Mr. Patrick Johnson in a second, but go ahead.
I never once called Patrick, only sent him the one text message that I submitted as evidence. This statement of my harassing his dad is false. Your honor, I ask that you approve my request for an anti-harassment restraining order due to the fact that both Patrick and Wyatt cannot manage their anger that arose from the sending of one text message. The encounters with both men have left me feeling unsafe in my own home, and I fear for any future retaliation against me. I ask that you deny Wyatt's request against me due to the fact that one text message cannot be considered harassment. I also find it slanderous that he could accuse me of having a substance abuse problem when I did not even know his name prior to February 6th.
Mr. Patrick Johnson, you're listed as respondent. You don't bring your own petition.
No,
I'll hear from you.
just was initially just taking this as neighbors not getting along and going about their way because we've never talked to them before, had any interaction. But anyways, Friday, February 2nd, I was working. I got a phone call from a customer of mine stating that Jill had called him and asking for my phone number. I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't know them at all. So Bill gave him my phone number, in which I received this long text message just about Wyatt driving erratically, speeding up and down the road, and I ignored it. He's got a 10-month-old son that's in the truck with him 80% of the time. Most of the rest of the time, he's towing one of my trailers up and down the street in a school zone. And just so happens that the school zone ends and the speed limit increases to 35, going past the Stewart's home. Now, I've never been a big fan of his exhaust myself, honestly, and he knows that. It's loud and obnoxious, and it revs up as he leaves the 20-mile-an-hour zone to go to 30. So it's just the exhaust. He's not speeding. But anyways, Monday came, no interactions with anybody. Monday came, and my customer called me again and said her husband had called now, and he didn't know why, and he's going to call him back later that night. In the meantime, on the way home that night, I don't know if she realized I was the next vehicle behind my son or not, but she ran out to the curb with her phone, videoing him, waving at him, which to me is a distraction to everybody on the road. But she walked away. We went home, blew it off. Mr. Eisman called her husband back, and he just stated that, from what I know in the brief conversation, that I didn't respond to her text message. I had no reason to. I don't know these people. I don't owe them anything. Anyways, went about my day. Tuesday morning, I left the house, and right around 8:15 or so, because I called in the incident report at 8:22 myself, when my son called me and said it was like an ambush. This John guy was at the end of the driveway, flashing a light off his phone at him, recording him. Well, I went down the road, tried to talk to them, got out of the truck, and was just met by vulgar language, got in the truck. I told him to go back home, which is my fault. I should just have him keep going and drive away from the situation, because he had to drive through it again to get back to the house. I came home in the meantime and listened to what he had to say in the driveway. And then I went down the street, turned around. I'm the one on the video in the truck, not my son. They wanted to hear a loud truck, and you want to harass my son and my grandson and send someone down to my home. I finally wanted an answer of what the problem is. So I revved it up. Nobody came out. I went up, knocked on the door, and I was, what is your deal? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. Your son is harassing me.
Hang on just a second. All right. Okay, I apologize. Continue.
We got in a heated argument. She told me to get off the property. I left, went home. Police called me back about 11:30 and just made another statement. And for the record, I've been served with nothing on this that I'm included in. A
lot of stuff has been filed, and you have access
nothing.
to the. If you've not seen any of that?
No, nothing, not a word.
We're swearing Mr. Looney here in a minute, and I'll hear from him. And I saw the video, and if that's you driving that truck, making the gesture, it's not something I'd be bragging about.
No, I revved it up. I did not make any gestures going past the home.
Did, then maybe that was someone else.
But it's just calling my customers, instead of coming down the street to talk to us like she states we're neighbors, going to my customers and badgering them for my phone number and then calling them for no reason. Like, what are you looking to get out of this by calling friends and customers of mine instead of just talking to us?
I think that's a real easy question to answer.
But
in terms of what she wants to get out of it, what they want to get out of it is not to have you or your son drive through the neighborhood in the manner that I observed on the video there that was taken by somebody else, not her. And if it's confusing to you why that would bother people, that
if he did, I'm unaware of that.
What's that?
So if he did, I'm unaware of that.
Well, I'm going to see if I can get this, since we're all here in court, I'm going to see if I can get that to show you. And I don't know whether I'll be able to or not, frankly. But anyway, I'll let you finish. You go ahead.
Well, that was it. I left, went home, waited for the police, and nobody came. So I went back to work. Also, if they would have just come down and talked to us, that truck is up for sale. His other truck was in the garage. So it's not loud like that one. It's not going to sound like he's speeding up and down the road. There were no prior complaints. There's no calls to the police for erratic driving, a loud truck, speeding, nothing. This just went from Thursday or Friday to Tuesday, and we have this. We don't bother anybody. We don't want any problems with anybody, and I assume they don't either. And so my outburst was somebody came to my home and threatened my kid and my grandson. And if that's what they're looking at, I feel the same way.
How was they threatened? I don't understand.
Whatever he was saying to my son at the end of the driveway, why was this man at my home? I don't know him.
Okay, but I still don't understand the threatening. What threats were made?
He said he was going to pay for everything he's done.
Who, Mr. Looney?
I don't know who this guy is. Okay. Right. John's the only name I've ever heard. Even the police officers brought it up.
Mr. Looney, could you wish to call them as a witness, Ms. Stewart?
Yes, please.
Okay. What do you know about all this?
So in my written statement, I attest to the fact that we've heard Mr. Johnson's truck pause in front of the neighbor's house. I've witnessed it twice. My wife works from home and said it's happened at least 2 other times during the 2-week period that preceded the incident we're talking about today. The first time I sounded actually like a cracked manifold, and I thought perhaps there was car trouble. And Jill let us know that she was sorry. It seemed to be a response to the text that she had sent his father with concerns about his driving. Then I work away from home. I happened to be home sick on the 6th and was upstairs in my pajamas, and the truck paused long enough that I was able to put my clothes on. I wanted to walk outside and flag Mr. Johnson down and basically tell him that was enough. He needs to cut it out. I am not the person that was at his driveway. I actually also don't know where he lives. And I am not a person that I would make you do anything or make you pay or anything like that. But on my kind of angry dad voice, I waved him down, drove down the street, parked, came down, talked. I said something like, "You've got to cut this out. This has to end." He said some things about the speed limit. I think we were maybe conflating two different issues. Pointed out that he had the right to do things in his driveway, to which I rejoined that there's not your driveway. This is in front of my neighbor's house and by default mine and the other 3 neighbors. There was a little bit more animated discussion about growing up and whether or not we were all grown-ups. There was the demand to come to his house, which is, I think, unnecessary, and also I didn't know where it was. And that was the end of the conversation. And that pretty much captures all of my knowledge about the situation.
All right. And then there was was Sadie your sister?
Yes.
On the Zoom call? Does she have anything to say, or is she just here watching?
She's just here as support.
Okay. And then your husband's to your left.
Yes.
Do you wish to have him testify? Or
Yes.
doesn't sound like he was there. Or maybe he was, I don't know.
He's been witness to the harassment, but he was not there on the morning of the 6th, like this petition states.
Anything you wish to add to all this?
I think the original contact with their client boss, Bill. I've known Bill for a long time. I built a dock for him. I used to do work for him. I called him and mainly to get a character background on Wyatt to see if this was normal behavior. And he said this was not normal behavior. So I said, well, is it something that I can call and talk to them? And he said that he would call Patrick and talk to him. And then this is what has happened since then. And that was Monday evening.
How long has this been going on?
It started directly after the text message.
No, I mean the revving and all this sort of stuff. The thing that led to the
It would have
text message being
been
sent in the first
what
place.
would be the Thursday or Friday before that, and then it proceeded for about a dozen times over the weekend.
Okay, so before the text message?
No,
That's what I want to find out. I want to find out what happened before the text message.
we were trying to. I realized we cannot control anybody's driving.
That's true.
It's all we can do is it's a neighbor that we happen to have a contact to. So we just sent out a simple request to maybe ask his son to slow down, be more respectful of children and animals.
Okay, great, thanks. So, Mr. Johnson, Patrick Johnson, I'll come back to you in a minute there, Wyatt Johnson, for the final word. I don't know that the text was in here.
I submitted it as evidence.
Yeah, where is that? Is that in your petition?
No.
So, when I look at this text you got, and I have in front of me right now, it seems to me to be fairly innocuous. Why didn't you go talk to her about it and say, like, what are you talking about? Or talk to Wyatt. I mean, we're going to show you here this video here of someone driving and find out who that is. And so again, when you see this text, which is again to me pretty innocuous, just go back and say, like, even if you don't know what she's talking about, say, gosh, what are you talking about? What's the problem here?
I resolved this. Just didn't find any truth to it at the time. My son has a 10-month-old that's in the truck with him. He's towing my trailers. He's not driving erratically, is endangering people up and down the street.
Well, why didn't
I don't know them. I didn't owe them anything. I didn't owe them a response. I found it all false.
I mean, so you just think, well, gosh, someone's just making up something, so the heck with it.
Well, when he's driving my vehicles, unless I have proof otherwise, I'm going to believe my son. And when my grandson's in the truck most of the time, or he's towing one of my trailers, I know he's not messing around.
Unless you're there watching them, you don't know that.
Well, it's true, but all they have is hearsay.
I'll show you what they have here in a minute with that. So Wyatt Johnson, I'll come to you. Anything you heard all these people talk. What's your response to all this? If you have one.
I would say I drive 7 to 8 times up and down this road a day, going to get parts, going to get random things, doing whatever I have to do to keep working. I want to see the videos also of where you were waving to me and I was waving back at you with no issues. and you were still recording, and I was not trying to hurt your feelings or be aggressive towards you. I was just expecting maybe a conversation at some point where you would come down and actually talk or message
I
me.
lost your audio for some reason. I can't hear you anymore.
Hello?
And this won't open. These videos won't open.
Hello?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I can look at Johnson. So it must be a court side issue.
And Mr.
Okay.
Looney, you're unmuted there, so you can mute up. Mr. Johnson, I'll hear from you.
Can you hear me again?
Yep, I can hear you again.
Where did I leave off? Where did you lose me?
Hang on just a second. Hey there. Can you come here? Well, let's wait here for a minute. We'll show these videos. I'll get some response from you folks, and then we'll go from there. In the meantime, we can just wait. I do have one question though. So you in your affidavit there, you said you've lived there for 10 years?
Yes.
How long have you lived where you live there?
4.5.
4.5. And so this only recently became an issue?
Mhm.
Fair enough. You'd
Yep.
never even known these people before this.
No, we know the owner of the house, and so that's how I knew that he lived down
Got
there.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. But this is a recent development.
Correct.
Got it.
And Your Honor, the only reason I sent the text message is because honestly, I didn't even know how old
Yeah,
Wyatt was.
I read the text message. You don't need to explain that to me. Ms. Stewart, who took that video? Was that you?
That was John Anderson.
You are harassing me at this point. You are harassing me. You are harassing me. You're doing that. So I will be calling the police.
So, Mr. Wyatt Johnson, I guess I'll start with you. Based on that video, it looks like you were approaching that other individual who's not Ms. Stewart's husband. You had parked your car at your place and was coming back to confront them. Am I reading that correctly, or you can explain to me what was going on there?
Yeah, so when I drove down the road and I saw everybody was out and John was running down the street, as I said last time, I was in the wrong for this, but I held on the brake while I was going down the road and was trying to spin tires and create noise. And then once I saw that...
Wait, stop that. Say that again, please. You were trying to spin...
Yes, in a sense, yes.
In a sense, you were on the road trying to spin your tires.
Yes.
You may continue.
And when I saw everybody was outside, I went and parked my truck and put it up, locked it up, and walked down to conversate.
What was your intention in going back there?
I hadn't spoken to them before, so I had no intention. I just wanted to see what was going on and have a conversation.
Okay. Mr. Patrick Johnson, earlier you had said that basically that this was just someone speeding up from a school zone, which is 20 miles an hour, to a 35 mile an hour speed limit, and that may account for the noise, if I understood your earlier testimony correctly.
Correct, Your Honor.
Was that what you just saw? Is that?
No, but he still wasn't over the speed limit.
Right. No, but I mean, well, let me ask you this question. What would you think if somebody drove by your house frequently and did that? I know what I'd think.
I know what everybody thinks, but he wasn't doing it frequently until she started going outside with the camera and taunting him. And that was very unimpressive. But Still,
Do you
she had
think that
people.
do you think that maybe it was that sort of behavior that led her to send the text in the first place?
I don't know if I've ever seen or heard of him doing something like that before.
Well, he probably doesn't do it when you're watching, which is what a lot of kids do when
But
their
then
parents aren't watching.
Why couldn't they just walk down the block and a half and talk to us?
Well, they kind of did with that text.
I don't find that as the same thing, Your Honor.
I mean,
It's,
okay.
she claims the neighborly stuff and we're here if you need anything, but they just send a text and then they're badgering customers for my phone number and talking about it.
All right. You just heard him say that he was intentionally trying to peel out.
Because they're outside with cameras antagonizing, waiting for it.
Which makes even less sense that he would do that if he was on camera. Most people, when they're on camera, they take steps to be on their best behavior. So, I mean, the fact that you're on camera, it's like, okay, let me demonstrate what I've been doing, basically, which is.
I think he was frustrated that it wasn't the first time she was outside with cameras.
Probably not, because.
Been denied, and now we have them in all of my trucks due to this situation. I don't. At the end of the day, Your Honor, we had left each other alone before. The truck is actually up for sale, and he has a different one now that's not anywhere near as loud. And he's leaving in 3 weeks for a job out of state. So I don't know. I think everybody just wants to be left alone.
Mr. Johnson, Wyatt Johnson, anything you'd like to say at this time?
No, Your Honor.
What do you think about the way you conducted yourself out there?
As I said last time, that choice that I made while it was on camera was not the right choice. And it was out of anger. And I'm waking up at 8:30 and you guys wait until 2 minutes for my dad to leave to everybody swarm in. And yeah, I got upset and I should not have. And then I tried to talk to them and was met with disgusting name calling and gross names. And all I did was just try to talk to them like a natural person. And everything they were saying to customers or to our customer was stuff they didn't want to tell us because it was asinine and disgusting. So I just assumed that whatever they were going to have to say to me was going to be awful. But when I saw everybody outside, I figured it was a time to talk.
All right. Where's he going out of state?
Minnesota.
Okay, for how long?
Oh, for good. That's where we're from.
Okay. And then what's he doing there?
Lumberyard.
All right. Anything you'd like to say? Any follow-up?
No, I just want this to be done.
Okay. Well, I think everyone wants that. That's for sure.
I do want to say that you saw in the video of what I said to him, and never did I call him any names on any level. So it's just, they're grasping at straws at this point.
So we have a number of petitions here. We have Ms. Stewart's asking for a petition against both Johnsons. Mr. Wyatt Johnson is the only petitioner asking for an order against Ms. Stewart. And so what I'm going to do is as follows. As I said before, I read the definition of harassing is a series of acts over a period of time that is nothing more than to harass, vex, or annoy, or anything like that. With regard to Mr. Wyatt Johnson against Ms. Stewart, I don't make any finding that Ms. Stewart engaged in any sort of harassing behavior against Mr. Wyatt Johnson, so that petition will be denied. Ms. Stewart indicated asking for a petition against both Johnsons, Mr. Patrick Johnson and Mr. Wyatt Johnson. Mr. Patrick Johnson, maybe I have some concerns about the way he responded to the reach out from Ms. Jill Stewart. I certainly can't make any finding that Mr. Patrick Johnson engaged in any sort of harassing behavior, so the petition against Patrick Johnson will be denied. However, with regard to Wyatt Johnson, it's clear to me that when someone drives by someone's house and that's a loud truck, they're doing it for one. I mean, it is. And when you're revving it like that.
It's a glass pack when his exhaust rusted out. He put it on in July.
But still, loud trucks and actually revving it in the manner that was done. I mean, you're only doing it to bug a person, as far as I can tell. So I will find that Wyatt Johnson engaged in that. I'll enter an order just for Jill Stewart against Wyatt Johnson. And that's it. There's not going to be a distance restriction. It's not going to affect his ability to get to and from his own home. It's just behave yourself. And somebody said this, and you're probably going to disagree with this, Mr. Wyatt Johnson, but you need to grow up and learn how to drive. And, your dad says that, your child is there with you. I see things all the time where people do crazy things in cars with children. And I'm sure he doesn't do it in front of you. None of us know what he's doing without them. But, when I have neighbors, Ms. Stewart herself, and then other neighbors saying, this is what's happening. And it's not just her, and it's driving everyone in the neighborhood nuts, frankly. And so knock it off, basically. And good luck in your job when you go to, and you folks lived near each other peacefully for a number of years. I don't see any reason why that can continue, but that'll be my order. And given the fact that he's leaving, it'll be a shorter order. It'll just be in place for 6 months. By that time he's gone, the order will go away, and that'll be the end of it. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Mr. Wyatt Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and that's it for today. You can get a copy of, I'll sign this, and you can get copies of this off the Thurston County District Court website.
Thank
And
you.
basically the honor is just, you're not to contact them, you're not to communicate with them, cause them no harm, don't engage in stalking behavior, and just don't come onto their premises, basically. But I'm not going to do a distance restriction to make him, don't come with you. He has to do all kinds of automotive gymnastics to avoid the home. But he, if you've learned anything out of this, you need to learn that again. You need to learn how to drive, frankly. But that's what I'm going to do here for today. Good
Yes,
luck
Your
to
Honor.
everybody, and hopefully this will put an end to it. And you all may go.
Thank you.
You can get copies of this out the Thurston County District Court website. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay. Okay. So, are you guys all in the same place?
Yes.
One of you needs to turn off your microphone.
Okay, turn all this off and we'll go on this one.
Okay, and then so you're Elise Sakemi, and then to your over your right shoulder is Randall and Dry. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then Ethan is behind you, and Stephen. Got it. All right. I know everybody was here. Okay. So Ms. Kanidakis is here for a protection order and against all four of you. And so I'm going to swear her in. I'll hear from her first, and then I'll hear from each of you, and then we'll go from there. So I'll hear from you, but did they lend you $5,000 or what's, I'm confused about that. And
Yes,
so
they did.
I'm under the understanding they're of the opinion that you owe them $5,000 somehow.
We did borrow $5,000, but
Has that been paid back?
no, it has not.
Okay.
And
And so my understanding is that and they've been showing up at your house, and I saw the videos and them pounding on your door and so forth. And they basically, anyway, I'll hear from you. What I think I'm going to hear from them is they just basically want to get paid. So go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. So I fear for my safety because of the events that happened. We met Elise and Stephen in June of 2021 when we did concrete. And then in June 2023, they reached out to us to get a bid on a new fence or get their fence replaced.
I'm going to need you to speak a little louder, please.
Okay. We were vulnerable at the time that they reached out to us in June of 2023. Financially, my 14-year-old son was diagnosed with brain cancer, had been going through treatment for a little over a year at this point. He's legally disabled. I need to take care of him. My significant other, Tonga, was going through a custody battle for his children, and that required us to fly to Maui multiple times because it was going to trial, and trial would get reset. And then I was also taking care of my two toddler grandchildren during this time period. Elise and Stephen, but mainly Elise, was overly kind and started giving us monetary things. I feel this is the way she was manipulating. She gave us expensive gifts. She talked about money and how they could help us financially. She would send texts to me saying, you can borrow any amount, you can pay it back however long it takes, just between us girls. Do you need any help right now? Offering all this stuff. She would send me her credit scores. I have exhibits of these. And then she would send pictures of the checks she wrote for $80,000, making it known that they were worth like $1 million and that they would help us with any amount. Another reason I fear, because she pulled us in this way, and then she would tell us about how she has flashbacks. And I witnessed over 6 times in 4 months how she'd lock herself in a room for hours. She would say how only Randolyn and Stephen could be in the house or in the room with her. She can't work any longer because she can't be in public around people. She's an empath and feels that she needs to be protected by Stephen and Ethan, who stand in front of her to protect her from the people that she thinks are bad. They have bags on them and they carry 9mm, and they will literally stand in front of her with their arms crossed to protect her.
Are you folks neighbors?
No. We live about 2 miles from each other.
2 miles? I see.
They showed me many times the weapons they have. They made sure to show that Ethan and Stephen have what they call get home bags that has 9mm, magazines, knives, and weapons they carry with them. They talk aggressively about how and what they would do if somebody crossed them. They show me ammo and shotguns and where they store everything in their home. She's made it known that she's bullied people, and when she feels they've done her wrong, she can win. She brags about how Stephen and Ethan will protect her.
And all this was before the $5,000
This is
loan?
all, yeah, and the reasons for my concerns because of this, in their home, they talk about things openly in front of their 9-year-old. Their 9-year-old on October 21st, when we went to the pumpkin patch, was carrying broken scissors in his pants. And the only reason that we knew was because he was jumping on a bouncy thing and he accidentally cut himself, but he's picking this stuff up. There was an incident with the neighbors with stabbing with a screwdriver. I don't know exactly what happened there. She has told me that she's done her research, and if she wanted to get rid of somebody, she would use lie. And along with the weapons and all of this, she is possessive, and if she doesn't get what she wants, she will retaliate. Again, with the multiple people in this order, they're part of that retaliation. An example of the timeline is the money was borrowed on October 27th, somewhere around there. Not sure the exact day that my husband went over
Of what
there.
year? 2023, so just a few months ago?
Yes. And by November 4th, she was to the conclusion, because we were not able to answer the phone, we were working in Winlock with no service, that we were not paying the money back, and we started getting threats. More of her possessiveness shows that she wanted to share a location, making sure she knew where we were at all times on the phone, but she shared with us, so we would share with her. She would have us do numerous things with these gifts that she was giving us, buying vacations, plans, taking us to the fair, but everything she did, she would pay for monetarily. And so we were under her control if we didn't do what she wanted us to do, and she would get upset about it.
I don't understand that. How would she under your control? How were you under their control?
Because she would be like, let's go camping, and they would buy all the equipment
I
for
know, but why don't
camping
you
and
say,
make
no, I don't want to go camping?
then there would be some sort of upset retaliation, like on October 29th, when it quickly escalated. Sunday, October 29th, I let her know that I wouldn't be able to make it to go dress shopping with her. And then that's when the first text about the fence and needing to pay back the money was. And then Monday, October 30th, I was working in Winlock with no service. And what we see is more texts that are saying we need to pay back $5,000. And I don't have money at this time. I am financially strapped when we borrowed the money because of the brain cancer and everything. And when we borrowed the money, she said that there was no time limit. By October 31st, there were more messages about how they're changing the wedding. Nobody's going to be in the wedding because everyone was disappointing her. Saturday, November 4th, they come to my residence, return the keys, cancel gym memberships, state they want the $5,000 back. And there's no time period where I ever responded and said I wasn't going to pay it back. I'm just extremely busy getting ready to go to Maui for trial, taking care of my son, trying to work so I can make money.
Let me hear from them for a little bit, okay?
May I say one more thing?
Sure.
Just the quick escalation on November 12th, then when everybody started attacking, and then
everybody started what now?
They started attacking online and calling multiple times, and Ethan sent threatening texts and Randolyn sent threatening texts, and they commented.
What did those texts say? How are they threatening?
I have them here because I did submit them and I have the
I know,
voicemail.
just go ahead and put them on the record. I heard the voicemail
Okay,
and I saw the Zoom,
okay,
or the ring, not the Zoom, the ring. There was a bunch of, several videos of them knocking at your door. I did see that.
okay.
And just refresh my memory where the text was.
The text from Randolin, and I'm sorry, it wasn't very organized at the time I submitted the petition.
I see Zoom. I looked on the petition, which I didn't see it. Yeah, I see voicemails and the voicemail and videos from the doors. I didn't see any text. Doesn't mean if they're not there, I just didn't see it. Sometimes people attach this stuff to the petition. I didn't really see it there either.
Okay.
So maybe if you could just read me what the text says.
Yes, it will. The first one from Randolin is, hello there, Randolin here. Just wanted to let you guys know the money you owe needs to be, Bestie and Stephen needs to be repaid and the fence needs to be finished. If it's not law enforcement, we'll be getting involved. And I can promise you that either of those options are going to be a lot better for you than if I came after you. And that's not a threat, that's a promise. But just so we're clear, I personally think you both are worthless pieces of shit. And I feel sorry for your daughter to grow up in such shitty and pathetic people as her parents. Hopefully you guys make the right choice and be actual adults and follow through on commitments. But judging by your character, I have a feeling absolutely nothing will get done because once again, you're worthless pieces of trash. And there's a link to the TikTok where she commented on our business. And then she also says, I also love that the only person you have the nerve to say anything to is Ethan, the youngest one, trying to say that it has nothing to do with him. The fight doesn't. His parents and you are over. He has every right to say shit to you, once again, showing us all how pathetic you really are. And he says, well, and then December 24th, she says, well, the holidays have arrived and you guys are still worthless pieces of shit as you were before. Happy to hear nothing has changed. No money has been given back. You stole it. I bet you bought your daughter lots of presents and you finished all your side projects, but sure, you didn't finish the 5-month-long fence you were supposed to finish. Shouldn't take that long to do 3 sides of a fence. Pretty pathetic, but it is what is right. Good thing karma knows how to find people, and 2024 is right around the corner. So hope you welcome in the new year right. Happy holidays. And then the Ethan text was just, he was saying, hey man, how long are you going to keep pushing this? Ain't nothing right about what you're doing. You want nothing to do with us or anything, fine by all means, but you got to finish the job that you're paid. And then he goes, on top of that, repay the $5,000 you borrowed from my parents. It was a loan. It's been weeks now. And it just goes on to say, we're both cowards. But in here, we told him to stop because it's not his place. We said, listen, bud, don't ever text and make threats or demands. You have no place in this. I'll make that clear to you. And then he says, so you can text me, but not my parents. That says a lot. There's a right time, we told him, because we were flying out to Maui on November 12th when all this is happening.
Again, I want to hear I want to get their perspective on this. And who wants to speak first?
Okay. Are you able to hear me, Your Honor?
I can hear you perfectly. So you've been sworn in. So what's your perspective on all this?
Your Honor, I actually just wanted to request if we could extend this to a later date. After going through all the paperwork and looking at everything, reading the end of how to file any information for you to consider for our side, it states that all evidence has to be submitted 1 week prior to the hearing. We were only served this paperwork 1 week prior. It was given to us 1 week ago yesterday around 9 p.m. And then Randolin's wasn't even served to her until Thursday or Friday.
I got mine on the 15th.
So with that, we have a lot of information that we would like to submit on our side as well. But we were not given adequate time to do that. I did call the number listed here to ask what I should do in this case. They said
what you should have been told is bring it up in front of the judge before anybody says anything. But go ahead. Because we're already halfway through this. I've already heard from her. But,
I apologize.
Can you get stuff in by next Monday?
I can get it in by next Monday. Yes, I can have everything submitted by next Monday.
Okay. How soon can you get that in? Can you get that in by, because Ms. Konadakis is going to want to see that.
I understand that, sir. I was hoping.
Go ahead.
I was hoping to be able to submit everything online with the table of contents and everything that's listed here. I saw how to do it, and I called to ask if I should do it with less time. And she said that it's the statement clearly states that it's required to be submitted 7 days prior.
I know what the rule says, but, all right. So, can you get that stuff in today? Do you have all that ready?
I do not have all of that ready, sir. No, I have 3 months of all kinds of disputing evidence that would go against the majority of what she's saying.
All right. You available next Monday, ma'am? Because I go off the rotation. We do these 2 months. I'm here for January and February, then I go off the rotation. So I don't want to boot it into March, but I will be doing these next Monday. And we'll extend the order, and then we can do from them, and you can call in. You know, she's correct, you know, with the late service. I don't even know that Ethan and Kimmy's been served yet. But we have.
He was served at the same time as us, Your Honor.
Remember what I said about not interrupting people?
I apologize.
So what's your availability for next Monday?
I'm starting a job on Monday. It does put it in a hard spot to be able to.
What job are you starting?
A job in Olympia. It's a new sidewalk.
It's what?
I'm putting in a new sidewalk for a customer.
What time do you start? What?
9 a.m.
Well, I want to get this done, ma'am, and I want to give them an opportunity to respond. How long is this job going to go?
Just the week.
Change this one. Do this one first. All right. How about March 4th? That's 2 weeks from yesterday.
That will work.
All right. And so there's still a temporary was granted, so the temporary will remain in place, and then I'll sign in a reissue. And then we'll see you on March 4th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. And then you can get that up. And so if you get that to you, do you know how to access the court file?
Go into
Yeah,
court
and so you both should do that. So they're going to get something in there. You should be checking that. So you know what's being filed between now and March 4th. Kanadakis is here. Elise and Stephen Akemi.
Also here.
Is that all for, are you on the same call again?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So just for the record, this is Julie Kanadakis is here in court. She's brought 3 separate cases, all involving the same set of circumstances against Stephen Akemi, Elise Akemi, Ethan Akemi, and Randall and Dry, who are all on the Zoom call. 2 weeks ago, I heard a lot of testimony, primarily from Ms. Kanadakis. At the conclusion of that testimony, the Akemis indicated that they got served late. They wanted to respond. So I set it over here today to give them a chance to do that. They did file some things, which I have reviewed. Ms. Kanadakis has filed some things. Also, a lot of it is repeated of things that were previously filed. And I'm ready to give a ruling in this case based on the evidence presented as well as what had been submitted. But just in terms of what went on here, and to summarize, so the long and the short of what happened, at one point, all these folks were friends, hung out together, and did a lot of things together. And then at one point, Ms. Kanadakis borrowed $5,000. The petitioner borrowed $5,000 from the other folks. That, to my knowledge, that still hasn't been paid back. And then it wasn't paid back when all this started. Some of the parties who are the respondents here went on the property of Ms. Kanadakis, knocked on their door quite sternly, I guess would be the best way to call it. At some point, law enforcement was involved and so forth. And so eventually, Ms. Kanadakis brought a motion, an anti-harassment petition. If I didn't read this last time, Commissioner Wool may have. An anti-harassment is defined as a series of acts over a period of time that have no legal or lawful purpose, and brought to vex, annoy, or harass someone else. And so in looking at all the things that are present in this case. At this point, I'm going to find the request for anti-harassment orders are going to be denied. I'm not going to enter orders at this time. So, but I'm going to talk with, say a little bit more here. And if the Akemis are there, and they all are, here's the thing. There's any number of, apparently, you're of the position that Ms. Konadakis owes you $5,000. There's any number of legal ways to go about recovering that. And one of them is not, going on and knocking on their door, making a couple demands, making a commotion and things of that sort. That's completely not appropriate. And maybe when I said that I'm going to deny a no contact or anti-harassment order, I should have followed that up with yet, because based on what's been presented thus far, I don't find that it's harassing. I find it's inappropriate behavior designed to recover on their debt. But we've been through a fairly extended hearing between last or 2 weeks ago and today is going to be a lot shorter. And clearly, you should know by now that going on to her property, knocking on her door is not an appropriate way to try and get your money paid back to you. And again, there are legal ways, any number of legal ways to go about doing that, and you need to pursue those. And nothing about this order prevents them from going about doing that. I will tell you, the Akemis and Ms. Dry and you, Ms. Konadakis, if this sort of, at this point, what she thinks about all this. Anyone would not want someone coming and knocking on their door asking for money. This happens again, I just tell you all, you can refile and we could take another look at it, because if any sort of, now that we've hashed this all out, any sort of further interaction of that sort would probably be deemed to be harassing. And so I just want you all to consider that going forward. There's been some allegations about, well, there's firearms and guns and things of this sort. I did not see any evidence of any sort of gun being used. I've reviewed all the video that's been submitted. There's been a number of video. And I'm not making any finding that any sort of threats or firearm threats were issued. And so I wanted to address that issue as well. So we all, and there's, okay, I guess another issue I'm going to talk about is terms of, reviews on Yelp or the internet or various other social media websites that address people's business and so forth. There's nothing I can do about that. That's frankly a free speech issue. People can get on it's just kind of the age we live in, where people can voice opinions on the internet one way or the other, but there's not much I can do about that. So that's what I'm going to do here for today. And then look at the Akemis and Ms. Dry. Do you understand all that?
Yes, you do, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so how are we going to conduct ourselves out there?
I have
And
no.
all I'm looking for you is just to say in a manner that's not going to get us called back here for another order. Can I rely on that?
Correct.
All right.
We're just going to go the legal route and just to obtain our money back. That's all, Your Honor.
And then you can do that, and that'll conclude the hearing here for today.
Thank you,
You're
Your
all free to
Honor.
go.
Connect on the Zoom.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, Mr. Johnson was here and he asked to because his attorney still wasn't, so we ended up resetting this another 2 weeks.
Your Honor.
Yes,
Am I allowed to respond?
yes. It's not going to change anything, but you're allowed to respond.
I checked last week. He doesn't have an attorney on the case.
Well, they haven't filed the notice of an appearance yet. That's true. But I'll take him at his word, and next week, if he's not here, then we'll just go ahead and go forward on it. And frankly, part of the reason, to be completely frank with you, part of the reason I did that is because you weren't here, and I didn't know whether you were going to come at all. And
I called it.
And I understand you were late, and I'm sorry about that. And the technology that we're working with these days, that's what happens. But it'll be heard in 2 weeks, and then that'll be it.
Another 2.
Yes, March 4th, right? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and we did get a notice of appearance, so he does have an attorney now.
May I know what day that was?
The 15th.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So do we do a reissue?
Yeah.
You want to send it to her? We can email it to her. I'll send it. We're going to email you the reissue order with your next court date.
Email?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have my email now?
I'm sorry?
Do you have my email?
We should have it on file, yes.
Have you been getting emails from us?
No. I can pick it up at the
Well, we'll give it to you now.
That's fine. But we will-
Just stay there, ma'am.
So we have your email too. If you-
Am I still on the record, Your Honor?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
Am I still on the record?
Yes.
I'm just wondering how someone harassing me can.
Yeah, I need you to speak louder, ma'am. You're on the record, but I can't hear you.
I'm just curious how someone harassing me can continue twice without a representation.
Well, as we continue it, so his representation can be here. There is an order in place and that order will remain in place.
Well, there is a violation.
Well, then that's, if there's a violation, then you can contact law enforcement and that's referred to the prosecuting attorney's office. And you can bring that up at the next hearing when that takes place.
Okay, Your Honor.
That's it for today. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So Ms. Vanacore, Mr. Riccobono, he filed something in the court file. Did you get a chance to see that and review it?
I'm sorry, say that again?
He filed a fairly long written statement.
No, I didn't see it.
Did you see that?
No.
It was filed on the 16th, it looks like.
No.
4 days ago. Can I print this for you? Tell me how you need an order against Mr. Riccobono.
We were not dating. He just arrived at my apartment 9 o'clock at night, uninvited, unannounced. My blinds were closed, tapping on my window. I'm in my pajamas. And this is an absolute lie that the intercom is always broken. It is not, absolutely not. You have to be buzzed into my apartment. So you walk into the first set of doors, it's open. There's an intercom there. You press the 4 buttons that go to my name, it rings my phone. And then if I want to let you in, I hit the button on my phone and it opens the doors. But that's an absolute lie. I came to the window with a smile. This is absolute ludicrous. Ludicrous. And with that case he had against him, I was like,
Okay, I'm not interested in that other case.
No, I know, but
The only
that's
thing
what-
in front of me right now, you're asking for an order against him. That's
Yes.
all I want to hear about.
yes. I didn't appreciate him coming to my house 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening, tapping on my window, creeping around.
Had you been in a prior relationship of some kind?
Yes.
Okay. And then when was the last time you had heard from him?
Around November, Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I was at the gym and he kept calling my phone,
Okay.
asking
And-
me to spend Christmas with him.
Okay. Did you communicate with him at all?
I told him just to leave me alone. And then I blocked him. And then he just opened up an account under his Chihuahua. And that's how he contacted me through Instant Messenger.
And when did he do that?
In December sometime.
Did you communicate back with
No,
him?
absolutely not. Nope, I never answered him. I blocked it.
Anything further after that?
No, I blocked him until that evening.
Okay. How did things end when things ended? You seem pretty
I
adamant right now.
I didn't care for him any longer. I just didn't want to be with him any longer. So he just didn't get the message.
How'd you get in there?
What's
She's
that?
saying that the intercom.
Oh, first of all, you can't enter her building unless you go through the double doors, like she's saying. So there's
Right.
an intercom in the vestibule.
Right.
In the past, we met in July, and we dated through mid and October. So, it never would work in the past. She'd always have me call her. She's like, that thing never works. And even the night I came Sunday, I tried to make it work. So when I walked down the sidewalk, her blinds were open. They were at like barely a tilt. And so I
Okay,
just,
were you outside the building when you were
Yes.
knocking on her window?
yes, sir. Her unit is on the first floor. And there's a sidewalk along the parking lot, and then the building, it's just a small grass and a garden.
And she had blocked you from previous accounts before, she was telling me?
Well, so I just want to respond to her statement. So
I mean, that's a yes or no question. She did or she didn't?
she did, she would block and unblock. That's what makes this, so that's what I'm trying to say is,
And then she told me she told you in October that she didn't want to hear from you again, basically.
yeah, the breakup was not ideal. She had a lot to drink. She gets feisty. I've always handled it with patience and grace.
I have pictures on my
Okay, so hang
phone.
on, ma'am. I'm hearing from him now. I'll give you a chance to respond. I just like to hear from one person at a time. What I don't like is the back and forth. So I'll give you a chance to respond in a minute.
Ms. Vanacore is a very good woman. So sometimes when she's had too much, she gets feisty. I never brought it up. I never made it an issue. I probably should have at some point, but I would overlook it and just ignore it because I know she's a good person. Then the last time we saw each other, we went to dinner. And then she just started a fight. So instead of just saying, in my opinion, you want to break up or how you feel, she just create a fight. And that's her way of ending things. So that I didn't hear back. That was Saturday night into Sunday morning.
This was back in October.
Mid-October. Yes. And then I got a text from her the next day, Sunday evening, and she just said, I'm not the girl for you. And something to that effect. So I wrote back, well, always, beg to differ, and I'm here. A lot of our relationship, there was back and forth. We were together, and then we broke up at one point.
But
She
then
said,
you contacted her again sometime later after that, then she blocked you.
this is
You remained blocked.
my point is, she said, don't contact me. I don't ever want to see you. And then we end up getting together again for another month and a half. So my point is, it wasn't that I was trying to disrespect her or ignore her. There was always this back and forth. I just thought if I could see her and talk to her, because we got back together, it was because we were face to face talking. So by February 4th, right intentions, I was just trying to talk to her. I didn't mean to upset her. I didn't mean to alarm her. Regarding the Facebook account, I have a Facebook account. One of my dogs has a Facebook account. It's been there I didn't create this to reach her. It's been there for 8 years, maybe 7, 8, 9 years. It was from my old neighborhood. It was a running joke. I wrote, it was just there. So a lot of times she would block, unblock, block, unblock. Sometimes we would text. Sometimes she let me call her. Sometimes she wouldn't. It was one of those kind of things. Not ideal. And I really liked her. I was just holding on. I thought if we could see each other, we'd be good. So
Do you see how upsetting that might be if someone, and it wasn't super late at night, but I know given the time,
yes,
it was dark.
I immediately took
someone knocking on their window from
yeah, no. So
so to speak, or out of the dark, I guess.
100%. I'm very remorseful about it. I felt like the worst feeling was that, she wrote in the petition, I got to look over my shoulder. She's not need to look over her shoulder. I was just trying to reach out to her. I can't. I mean, the officers they were like, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at Sunday night. And she said, you're her ex. And she said, I'm her ex. They go, yeah. So, because at the end she was saying we weren't even, I wasn't even her boyfriend. So I just was like, I told him I apologize. I had the right intentions. I wanted to give her a gift and try to talk to her because we had got back together when I could just talk to her. It was stupid. I shouldn't have been there. I should have got the hint and the message.
I think we can agree on that.
I should look. The feelings are gone. She didn't, she felt then or over time. And, I just really liked her and I thought I had to tell her and at least show her. Because I just thought I should take the chance and let her know. We had a really, as unique as it may seem, because of our age gap, we had a very nice time together. And, I just was hoping for the best. I thought if I could see her, we'd see each other. Clearly, I got the message. She don't want to see me. She don't want to hear from me. The protection order is extremely embarrassing. I should have known better after the incident she referenced. There's a lot of misunderstanding about that. It should have never been issued. That was it from a year ago. And that order went through 5 months later over me asking her to stop obsessing and slandering me on social media in a very public way.
I'm not interested in that other.
No, I understand.
County. I don't have access to that, and that's not really.
I bring it up because I never stalked the woman. And so she's writing this petition. Oh, I don't know what he's capable of. The whole thing was ridiculous. And the worst part is the first thing I talked to Ms. Vanacore about was that whole thing. So she knew the whole thing. And she literally said, I would never do that. People should be able to talk to each other. So I never thought we'd get to a place where she'd say, I have to take you to court. I don't know what he's capable of. I was just trying to be sweet. And it's done. The whole thing's done. I get it. It's over. It's done. She doesn't want anything. She doesn't want it remembered. She doesn't want anything to do with me. That's fine. I was just trying. I thought I couldn't lose trying because I liked her.
You live in Pierce County there, is that correct?
I live in Tacoma, yeah.
So Ms. Vanacore, you had wanted to say something and I stopped you. I'll hear from you now if you want to respond to all of that.
Nothing. He's just adding a lot of fluff to it, saying, it just really just, yeah, he did tell me about that case when we first met. And I figured, okay, so, you know, some women, lie, like, to get back at, how they do that, say that they're, you know, assaulted and they never were, but now this happened to me. That other person, I know you don't want to reference that, but probably had something real.
I mean, I don't know anything about that. That's
No,
a
I
civil
know.
order,
I'm just
like
saying
this
that
request.
that's, you know, when you're being creeping at my apartment at
Your
9
Honor.
o'clock at night.
I stopped her when she was interrupting you, so I'm going to stop you while
So-
she's speaking. Go ahead.
So, no, I'm just saying it's really creepy.
Go ahead, Mr. Riccabona. What-
I'm not a creep. I took Miss Vanacore out several occasions. I can't count on my hands. She was going through a divorce. I empathize with her. It was hard for me when I went through mine. We were good company together. We became close and good friends. And then it ended. That's all there is to it. I'm not a creep. She was the kind of person you had to court a lot and get her attention. And then you did, and you saw each other and she adored it and loved it. We spent weekends together. She told me all the time, "You're very good to me. You're very sweet." She told me a lot of things. I just really liked her. That's all. We live in a crazy world. We do. And yes, she's older than me, but that was part of the reason why I liked her so much. She's from a different era where people talk face to face. It was just really romantic and sweet. And I liked her a lot. That's it. So I just was trying to still win her back, which clearly that train left the station. I got the message when she called the police. The window thing, I was at her place all the time. She was at mine. The blinds were open and I knocked. She did come up to the window. She was smiling and she said, "What are you doing?" And she laughed. And I said, "I want to give you this." And then she just said like this. She went, "Just a second." And I said, "Okay." And then I waited 5 or 6 minutes. And then she came back, looked me dead in the eyes. Blinds were open, and then shut it just as the police came. And I immediately walked over and I just said, "Hey, I'm really sorry about this." And I identified myself. And they said, "Well, what's going on?" I said, "I was trying to be sweet and give this to her. Clearly, she doesn't want it." The male officer came back and said, "She doesn't want any contact from you. She doesn't want to hear from you." And I said clearly, and they laughed. And I said, "This doesn't need to be a thing. I'm sorry for the trouble. I hope she knows that." I told them that. I wish to this day they escorted me to her and let me tell her that. I was not trying to bother her like this. I just was holding on to someone I really liked. And I thought maybe we were going to rekindle like we had in the past. It's done. I understand it. And regarding the case she's referenced in here, it's unfathomable to me that she would after she knew all about it. And it just didn't happen. I do feel like she threw it in there to use it against me because she can. I don't know how she thinks I'm a threatening person. I own no weapons. I have no violence. I never was that way with her. She could be verbally abusive and physical, and I handled it like a gentleman.
That's an absolute lie.
Okay,
I have pictures on my phone.
Just wait, ma'am. Go ahead. Anything further, sir?
No, I cared about her. It's over and it's done.
Go ahead, ma'am. What were you going to say?
No, he was saying that we had an argument really bad. Both of us were drinking. I kicked him out of my apartment. He had a company car at the time. He went to a bar and I went to sleep. The next morning I woke up to pictures of him taking a picture of his speedometer doing 120 at a bar with other girls, kissing on his face, and then giving me the finger.
I have to, yeah, may I? I'm sorry.
Okay, you can respond to that.
Yes, that was in July. That was 4 weeks after we were dating. Miss Vanacore, who also made me promise never to call her that because she said her name's Miss Polito. Apparently it hasn't changed.
No, it has not changed.
She was a big, important thing for her. So that night, that was when we broke up in the end of July. She had way too much. I got her home safely. Then when she's on the couch, we engaged. And then out of nowhere, and this would happen sometimes when she's had too much, she just starts flipping and just starts yelling. And she just berated me. And then I just said, I had enough. I just was like, I'm out of here. She is a good person, but when she's had a lot, I don't think she knows the person she becomes. I sped off upset. I got to the bar. I did things I shouldn't have done. I drove too fast on the highway. I apologized to her the next day. I said that was ridiculous behavior. I put myself in danger and other people. It's not acceptable. And I apologized. She had, well, I won't go into that, but that all said, she said, don't ever call me or contact me again. Don't ever come here. Don't ever call me again. And I just said, I am so sorry. And I kept beating myself up over it. And she never apologized for her behavior. She never has, she never will, she never did. But I always did if something arose. That was bad. So my point is, after that, we still got back together. So a month later, we're still dating again and got even closer. So it wasn't that I'm trying to disrespect her or not adhere to what she's asking. I get it. She's done. But there was always this back and forth. And that's all I can say. She told me to don't contact her in the past. And then we got back together because we saw each other and it took off. So I was trying on February 4th. I just thought if I can give her something sweet and nice, I could talk to her again. That was where my mind was. I regret it because she clearly, when I wrote a nice letter, she blocked it on Facebook. I didn't create a profile to contact her that already existed. I just sent it. And I didn't get she blocked it. I should have got the message. It's done. And I got it now. There does not need a protection order. I never need to see her again, and it's done. I got it. I didn't get it the first time. I wish she told me, the hows and whys or what, but she didn't. And so it's done. I got the message now.
Okay, so my ruling in this case is as follows. First of all, the parties were engaged in a relationship, maybe on again, off again, and then it went off. Ms. Vanacore made a number of affirmative steps to say that it was definitely off, and blocking accounts, blocking attempts to contact through social media. And then following that, and I understand Mr. Riccobono says, well, I was just trying to reach out, which may be true, but that's not the way to do it. To show up after dark, and it wasn't too late, as I about 8:45, 8:45, to be knocking on someone's window after dark when that person has blocked you, told you several months ago, I don't want to talk to you anymore. That's going to scare people. It just is. So hang on just a second.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to hopefully, believe it or not, and you might not, I'm just going to make this easy for you in the sense and draw a bright line. And I will enter an order. It'll be in place for 1 year. You're not to contact her. Don't engage in stalking behavior. Don't communicate with her in any way. Don't come within 1,000 feet of her, which should be easy for you if you live up in Pierce County. Don't come within 1,000 feet of, her residence, place of employment, or anything like that. And I understand you disagree with that. I understand what you told me about what your intentions were, but looking at it objectively, I think when people say that, I don't want to talk to you, they have a right to have that respected. And, maybe there's ways without an order to reach out, but showing up at night on their window outside the apartment, that's problematic. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I wish she had told me, Nicholas, I don't want to see you, or I'll call the police. Nicholas, it's done. But Your Honor, I wish she blocked me. She had in the past. It was always back and forth. I wish she had said, Nick, really, I don't want to see you. I wish she had told me that. The other thing I will add is I'm already likely going to lose my job over this. This order is not good. It's already in motion and a done deal. It's stupid. It was because I cared about somebody, and it's just, the whole thing is just ridiculous and stupid. I wish she just told me.
I did tell him.
Okay, ma'am, I just let him finish.
She sent me a text, I'm not the girl for you. We talked in November. We talked for about 9 or 10 minutes. She'd say what she want to say. Then I go to talk and she talk over me and shut it down.
Yeah.
I should have let it be.
Yes, you should have.
I should have. This is my fault. It's not her fault. I know that.
Okay.
I just want it for the record. I was not trying to upset her.
I'll make copies of this, and she's going to make copies of this. You'll both have copies, and then you're free to go.
Yes, sir.